You're quite the teacher.
You are perhaps the most intriguing person I've ever met.
January 29th still seems like too long away for Bridgerton fans, so we have no choice but to put forward assumptions for now, in classic Whistledown style. Benedict Bridgerton is soon going to struggle to stay afloat in the perilous waters of matchmaking, but thankfully for him, his anchor will come in the form of the mysterious Lady in Silver. Francesca Bridgerton, on the other hand, is already married to John Sterling, despite not having a particular season dedicated to her yet. While Season 4 will primarily focus on Benedict's marriage, I am certain that we will also see developments in Francesca's life with John. As the show has departed from the original source material in many ways for the previous 3 couples, what other changes can we expect to see for Benedict and Francesca? Here's my juicy take.
With a little imagination, the impossible seems possible.
What changes will we see in Benedict's story in Season 4? The showrunners took a radical decision when Benedict was shown to be on the queer spectrum. As someone who feels stifled by the expectations set on him as a Bridgerton man, he rebels in his own way by throwing himself into artistic escapades with paintbrushes, as well as with his senses. His involvement with Lady Tilly Arnold, her friend Paul, and Genevieve de Cook has always echoed his desire to break away from tradition and embrace liberty in its rawest form. But even Benedict knows that he can keep delaying his duties only for so long. In the books, he is portrayed as someone completely uninterested in such matters and has no love interest before Sophie comes along. And I am not saying that is a bad way to portray him, but it just feels rather one-dimensional. Benedict in the show is much more realistic and takes charge of his choices instead of just being a passive individual with barely any character development until his marriage. We already know that Anthony always felt burdened by his responsibilities and station as the head of the household, following his father's passing. Benedict is his immediate younger sibling, so it absolutely makes sense for him to also feel some of that stress. But I think Benedict always felt that he could not match up to Anthony, and while it somewhat made him resent his circumstances, it also cleared the path towards his self-discovery. He understood that he could never be like Anthony and would have to carve his own journey. So, his art and sexual experimentation were not just tools of rebellion, they were also devices that were actively shaping his personality and helping him understand who Benedict Bridgerton really is. I have a strong feeling that his self-discovery will be an important part of Season 4. When he has no other choice but to find a match in the marriage market, maybe he initially considers it simply as a duty to get it over with. That changes when he meets the elusive Lady in Silver, whose very appearance and bearing set her apart from all the ladies in the room. She seems out of place, much like Benedict himself, so that is probably what draws him to her. Fueled by curiosity, maybe Benedict just wants to get to know more about her, but happens to fall in love with her rawness. As she leaves before he can get to know any more details, he is left only with her glove and the determination to find the face under that mask. Naturally, we know that proved to be quite the task because the lady he danced with was not even a lady, but a maid. Sophie has her own battles to fight, and she knows that Benedict, or any other man from high society, will immediately shun her if they know her station. The books show her to be a somewhat passive character. Things happen to her, and she goes along with them, and ultimately, everything works out in her favor. I doubt that the show will follow the same vein, because Sophie was already shown to be actively planning her appearance at the ball in the trailer for Season 4. The road ahead of her is certainly not easy, as her rivals will not just be the other ladies vying for Benedict's attention, but her own circumstances. This is where I think Benedict will also get some impressive character development. We already know that he is not one to chase after superficiality and prefers connection. To prove his love for Sophie, he might even have to take a call regarding his own standing in society. After all, Sophie is an illegitimate child. Her involvement with Benedict will make things difficult for both of them. Will Benedict still pursue her, knowing that he might have to give up his own place in society? That seems to be the most probable course of action, but here's another case. Maybe Benedict will see that the involvement is hurting Sophie more than him, since she is definitely the more vulnerable of the two, and will break things off so that she is spared the shame, the "I am letting you go because I love you" sort of thing. I mean, of course, it will add drama to the season, but hey, aren't we all here exactly for that? How will Francesca's storyline be altered? As mentioned earlier, I have enough reason to believe that we will see some simultaneous development in Francesca's story along with Benedict's. Why, you ask? Well, her wedding took place in season 3 itself, which was officially Colleen's season. Considering how her story has several layers to it, showing everything in one season dedicated solely to Francesca will feel extremely rushed and emotionless. Keeping her and maybe even Eloise's stories in the running, while giving much more screen time to the actual couple, will be a great way to keep the audiences engaged and excited for seasons 5 and onwards. Moreover, the biggest change that we are likely to see for Francesca has already been teased. Last season, she was introduced to her husband's cousin, and in the books, she actually ended up marrying this person after John's untimely death. Michael Sterling, in the books, developed a great friendship with his cousin's widow, Francesca, which eventually turned into a love and marriage. In the show, this cousin was introduced as Michaela Sterling, a lady whom Francesca meets and immediately stumbles over her words. With Benedict already introduced as a pansexual character, it was expected that the showrunners would change at least one Bridgerton sibling straight love story to a queer one. With Michaela stepping in, we know that it will be Francesca. We have always seen her as a rather timid and proper lady, much like her older sister Daphne, and very different from the sharp-tongued Eloise. While she and her husband are deeply in love, Francesca is fated to experience tragedy when he dies just 2 years after being married to her. In the books, she is described as someone who longs to experience motherhood. In fact, this becomes one of the main reasons why she marries Michael Sterling, because she and John never got to have kids. Since we know that Michael is Michaela in the show, I think it will be interesting how the motherhood angle will be handled. Francesca will not be able to have kids with Michaela, naturally. In that case, maybe we will see her have a child with John before his passing, or we might even see her become a mother to Michaela's kids. We don't know if Michaela has kids, but I am just putting it out there that Francesca might not exclusively want kids she has herself birthed, and will be more than content being a mother to her wife's children. But I feel that it is also possible for the show to scrap the entire idea of her wanting to have kids, considering how certain themes have been altered to make the show more in tune with today's social climate. Maybe Francesca will be portrayed as someone who remarries only for love. After all, being a mother is not the only purpose of a woman's life. If this is indeed followed, it will be a remarkable departure from the novel, as Francesca will be shown as a woman who chooses herself and remarries because she falls in love again, and not because she wants to have children. Until season 4 drops and we see more of Francesca and John's life, we really cannot say which direction the story will take. What is certain is that Francesca Bridgerton's character is likely to experience the biggest change from the books. Jess Brownell, Bridgerton's showrunner, has mentioned that Benedict and Sophie's story, based on An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn, has been the easiest to adapt for television yet. She has also spoken about the class divide between the two characters, saying that it will add a new kind of sensibility to Bridgerton. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly, Brownell has mentioned how Benedict very much lives in a fantasy world as compared to Sophie, who lives in a much harsher reality. For each of them, neither of those stations is where they need to live to find true love, and that will be an important theme in season 4. Similarly, she is very excited to explore a queer storyline for Francesca, as she herself identifies as queer. She reportedly got author Julia Quinn's blessing to go ahead with this, and has said that while society in the show is inclusive in certain aspects, it is not yet that accommodating in terms of sexual inclusivity. So there needs to be a lot of work done to bring up the subject in a way that will not be too jarring or even too smooth. Whatever might be the case, I know I am ready to obsess over Bridgerton again. Are you?